The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Greenfield Savings Bank, providing residential lending advice. Greenfield Savings Bank, member FDIC, DIF, equal housing lender, NMLS 409187. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, the hills are alive. Or are they dead? With haunting at McCray's farm in South Hadley. We'll get to chat with the folks bringing local milk and ice cream to the Connecticut Valley, in addition to the well-crafted fright of fear on the farm for the spooky season.
We'll also dive into the melting pot that is the 2024-25 season of our friendly symphonic ensemble just down the road. Artistic director Mei-Ann Chen and President Paul Lambert walk us through the pieces the Springfield Symphony Orchestra will be tackling, including the season opener next week.
And speaking of diving, when one goes through an archive, there's all sorts of interesting discoveries to be had.
How's that?
Good.
In the yellow?
That looks good.
In the yellow.
Yeah, peaking at -10.
That's right.
Oh, great. Oh, boy.
That's enough nerding out about audio technology with you there, Chris.
I'm sorry. You got to aggravate over that stuff.
This Saturday, October 12th, at the Greenfield Garden Cinema, a special Vintage Day showing of two movies with ties back to Western Mass, including the showing of a long-lost silent movie from 1924 filmed in Greenfield, Mass.
The short film includes shots of the Greenfield train station, shift change at a local factory, and a melodrama performed by local actors, which at its core is a chance to see what Greenfield looked like 100 years ago.
Greenfield's Historical Society President Carol Aleman and Chris Clawson, local historian, filmmaker, join us as they were directly involved in restoring the films to modern standards and discovering the stories of the people involved. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's a fascinating story. You've made a 13-minute-long documentary chronicling the story behind the restoration and the discovery of these films. But can you tell us a little bit about discovering the canister, the unknown canister of film, and where it all came from?
Well, one day Chris came to the Historical Society, eager to discuss some new ideas he had for us for projects. And it happened that the research room was a bit cluttered, so I suggested we go upstairs to a space that I don't usually meet in, I don't spend much time in, and I don't know that he had ever been in. And as soon as we were there, we began speaking, and he interrupted by saying, "What's that over there?" And I thought, oh boy, there it was, something hidden on the cluttered shelf. We explored. I went and pulled these two reels out, and Chris can tell you what happened next.
What happened next, Chris?
We inspected the films and identified them. We found a 1923 Pathé newsreel of Greenfield's first winter carnival.
And these are the classic newsreels that people used to watch before movies.
Yes, the famous Pathé newsreel that had the chicken crowing as their trademark. But was really perplexing was a somewhat longer film, Love's Young Dream, and it was set on the can. It was a one-act comedy drama. You know, that was the beginning of our investigation. The documentary actually goes into quite a bit of detail about what was unveiled and what we finally found out about it. What's fascinating about our discovery is that it takes a sweet spot, if you will, between the age of vaudeville and the coming of cinema. The producers apparently worked for the Keystone Studios at one time, and then came up with this vaudeville act where they would go around book theaters and cities to put on their show, which was producing a movie. And it was the same movie. They had, the titles were all in cans, and they knew what the scripting and everything. And they would get locals to play the key parts, and they would do an act each night in the theater and edit it all together, and then a week or so later, people would get to see themselves on the screen, and the group packs up, goes on to the next city, and makes the same film. What might be exciting is that, as far as we know, we may have the only surviving example of this.
But if you had encountered another example of it, it would have a whole different cast, possibly be in a totally different town, like even though it's the same story, which I think is even more fascinating about this.
Yes, absolutely. And we got so excited just seeing the faces of these folks from 100 years ago. Our neighbors, as Chris calls them, there they are in front of us and maybe even related to some of us.
How were you able to figure out who was in it? Were there credits at the end telling you who they were? Or did you have to do some digging to find out who was being cast in this?
No. Carol got started with that, and then I started to follow her. And what archives and resources on the internet we started looking up. Well, first we started looking up Mattern, didn't we?
Yes.
And who is Mattern? He's the football guy, right? He invented the turducken. There's video games.
Don't worry about the horse being blind. Just load the wagon.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's Madden, right? Yeah.
Joseph Mattern apparently worked for Keystone Studios in 1914, directed half a dozen films, one of which was with Charlie Chaplin, co-directed with Charlie Chaplin. But that seems to be all he did, and he formed a company and began touring the country making this Love's Young Dream. That's kind of the legacy that he carried through. We've seen productions in Canada, in the Illinois area, a lot of stuff around Massachusetts.
So you know that it has happened in these places, but this is the only surviving footage that we know
The only
of?
one we know of, anybody I've been in touch that knows of these, their copies are gone.
We're speaking with local historian Chris Clawson, as well as the Greenfield Historical Society president, Carol Aleman. And we're talking about two vintage movies, silent movies, that will be screened for free
One
this
is
Saturday
silent,
morning.
the other one is
Well,
not.
one you've added music to, right?
Both-
This Saturday, October 12th, at the Greenfield Garden Cinema's special Vintage Day showing of these two movies.
Both silent films have genuine orchestra scores, virtual orchestras playing with them.
But you have picked the orchestra scores to go with them. This isn't not necessarily what would have
There
been.
are, thank you very much, Internet. There are public archives available in the country where you can actually research and download full orchestra scores that were written for the silent screen.
Were these ones written for this Love's Young Dream?
No, these are generic out of the catalog. Every music publisher would be writing for this market, and you could get a Hurry number 3 or Mysterioso number 4.
Yeah.
And
It's like making a movie on iMovie right now. They have all this stock stuff you can put underneath it, and you start to recognize, oh, this was made with iMovie. I know that music.
Yeah.
you would get a synopsis from the producer when it came to your theater, what the different scenes were. And then you would find the mood and the length of the episode that the scene was in, and then you'd pick an appropriate piece of music for that. So I have matched that effort, and I very much hope people come to see the theater, because we've got a virtual orchestra fitted properly into the scenes, and it's all in the 5.1 surround sound theater stereo. First time I've ever tried it. So
I love it.
forgive the boasting, but yeah.
Well, it's a lot, too, because, old theaters would have music directors, and they would have, a catalog of themes that they could buy from houses that would make the scores, and then it was up to the director to assemble the score of that movie.
Exactly.
So if you saw it in different theaters, you would hear different music to the same movie.
Because it's the music director's
Exactly.
choice, and they probably would use their own library. The music director would have to look at the film and decide what to do for that particular show.
So you act as music director for this one, but the process of restoring this and digitizing it seems painstaking. Can you talk a little bit, the two of you, about what you did?
I can say that my role mainly was having Chris in the building, getting him in a space where he would discover these reels, and then having the enthusiasm and the dedication to spend countless hours just working on this.
But Carol, your research was critical. So much of the time we spend making productions or presentations to the public, it starts with an idea, and then you got to go into the collections and archives and find the relevant material to start telling a story. you're cheating a bit with a movie because the story's already there. Now the research may be trying to find out just what is it, why it was made, and how we got around to it.
My research is mostly newspapers. I mean, ideally, I would love to have the people to ask, and we did find some relatives who could help us learn a little more about that person in the play, who is the lead male role.
And what's that person's name?
His name is Clarence Zip Caldwell. He was a local real estate agent, and I remember him.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The film was transferred with a hacked-up Bell and Howell projector from the 1970s.
But you took like 17,000 individual photos to digitize these,
Yeah,
right?
but that's for a 20-minute film.
I know.
We've got a project right now that's got more than a mile of film, Lord help us. We'll talk more about that next year, maybe.
I cannot wait.
Actually, how often do you encounter films in some of the stuff that you have? How often is film a thing that you encounter?
Well, in a building like ours, that's as big as it is, there could be many, many more films like this.
Oh, wow.
But we don't usually find them in the way we did with this one.
I need to put my preservation plug in here because Hollywood can take care of itself.
Yeah.
The classic movies and stuff, they full know the value of it.
Unless there's a huge fire.
But,
Let's not talk about that.
Home movies have been around since 1921 or so, and they're all gone. Film of any form, including the roll film negatives that you saw, some of us older folk, they're all very perishable. The plastic is not stable stuff, so it shrinks, yellows, and crumbles away forever. It's very hard finding original film from the 1920s that can still be used. It's the lives of our parents and our grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And preserving this time machine so we can see ourselves from another generation is just a treasure that we should not lose. And I'm really hoping that our production adds to the sensitivity and appreciation. At what's left, I mean, we really need to save it.
Yeah, so get those things digitized on your own. If you have those old home movies, you never know when they could be
Or
part
talk
of the...
to us about it.
Oh, good. And us is Chris Clawson, a local historian, as well as Carol Aleman, who is the Greenfield Historical Society president. We're talking about these two movies that will show this Saturday, the 12th at 11 a.m. at the Greenfield Garden Cinema. This was not screened originally at the Greenfield Garden Cinema, right? It was screened at another cinema, now awesome late-night dive bar called the Vic, right? The Victory Theater?
The Victoria.
The Victoria Theater, yeah, right.
The Vic. Yeah, the vaudeville house was the Victoria Theater.
Uh-huh.
As a matter of fact, the Garden didn't exist at the time our film was made.
Interesting.
The Garden came around in 1928, and the Victoria was 1913, if I remember correctly.
Uh-huh. And is that the same location that the bar is in now?
It's the same street. There's
Okay.
there's a lot of Chapman Street that the old timers will remember that's gone now.
Uh-huh.
And the show was eventually the show place. By the way, we're fortunate. These films, as I said, would normally not survive. And what happened was the projectionist in the early 1970s found the original nitrate prints, knew what they were, and had them copied onto 16-millimeter film at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, by the AFI, American Film Institute.
I'm not sure if both of them were made by the AFI, but the AFI was definitely interested in Dream. I contacted them, and I don't know an awful lot about it right now. It'd be nice to eventually have our copy made available through other venues, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So we could have some fun conversation about this time machine we've uncovered.
Is there anything exciting about the Greenfield Winter Carnival? It's an event that still goes on in Greenfield, this year. What strikes you about looking at that footage from that time frame? Carol, who's the president of the Greenfield Historical Society?
In addition to the film, we came upon photographs that are very similar and pretty much match some of what we saw on the film. I can't actually view it without laughing because so much of it is so much fun. Just what the people are doing. Is it a toboggan run or that is on
in
on
front
the film?
of Poet Seat.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and they're coming down, and it's just people in a community that are together having a good time, and it's just wonderful.
Chris Clawson?
I made a documentary regarding the Franklin County Fair at one point, and what was fun in that documentary was to show several generations in history all participating and enjoying the same activities. People that are involved in the current Winter Carnival, can watch this film and see similarities in the activities that the first Winter Carnival had back in 1923. There's a kinship with the past when you find yourself practicing traditions that each generation has taken a turn to act out their lives in, make their own personal changes, and then pass it on to the next generation, who will in turn do the same themselves.
Sometimes we learn history and are destined to repeat it, and it's not that bad all the time.
No, it's not. And with the Winter Carnival, we had in the film segment seen there was an ice castle, but it wasn't really until we saw the photographs that we could see clearly where it was.
And where was it?
On the Greenfield Common.
Wow.
Oh, you're giving away the secret. Come on.
But even still, there's ice sculptures there on the Greenfield Common during the Winter Carnival now.
Yes, there is.
But then, like, those photos, did that help with some of the restoration, too? Because, like, clearly, like, in, about 50 years of time, even from 74 to now, there's going to be some degradation of film, even with that initial restoration. Did that help with clarifying some of the images?
It will for the audience, because we pretty much knew where these things were when we found these photographs in the archives of the Society. What I've done is made a little segment after the running of the newsreel where we show a clip of film and then we see several pictures of the activities, or maybe even the same scene of the same year, shown to the audience. So that's a little surprise we'll have, immediately after the film runs.
I feel like I'm making you give too many things away. We should stop.
Think about it as tantalizing. You still have to experience it yourself with your own
This
eyes.
is true.
And what better way?
Oh, please. Yes, we got this lovely theater that we need to really fill up.
And we feel very fortunate to be able to use it.
It's perfect to come full circle with these films that were created 100 years ago in the city known as the town of Greenfield that will be projected this Saturday for free at 11 o'clock at the gem of a theater, the Greenfield Garden Cinema. And we have been joined by Carol Aleman, who is the Greenfield Historical Society president, and Chris Clawson, the local historian, who have teamed up to restore this wonderful piece of history for all of us to enjoy this weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, so much thank you for having us.
It's been a pleasure.
And good job. This is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Especially, I was looking at the machine that you'd assembled to do the digitization that's taking the pictures of each of the cells, and that looks...
Rube Goldberg?
Yeah.
A little bit. I was going to say innovative, but Rube Goldberg also works. The screening of the two silent movies, along with the documentary about the restoration process, starts at 11 a.m. on Saturday, October 12th. The event is free and open to the public. Find more information at gardencinemas.com.
We'll get our Fear and Our Farm on in South Hadley at McCray's, where they've been amping up the spooky on the grounds of their dairy farm for 34 years. But next, a glimpse of the good sounds the Springfield Symphony Orchestra will bring in the 2024-25 season.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering graduate programs in public affairs, public policy and administration, data analytics, and computational social science. umass.edu/SPP. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering co-op advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
The Springfield Symphony Orchestra begins its 2024-2025 season under the theme of a tapestry of music, starting with New England Reverie, Saturday, October 19th.
The Springfield Symphony Orchestra is the largest Massachusetts symphony outside of Boston. It consists of over 65 musicians from the Northeast region of the United States and Canada.
Opening night will feature the Springfield Symphony Orchestra's artistic advisor, Mei-Ann Chen, as conductor, and acclaimed pianist Anne-Marie McDermott kicking off the season with a tapestry of music.
We are joined by the Springfield Symphony Orchestra's artistic advisor, Mei-Ann Chen, and by Paul Lambert, president and CEO of the SSO. Thanks for joining us, the two of you.
Well, it's a joy to be here.
Always great to be here.
Now, Mei-Ann, I know that you did a little work with the symphony in person last year, but this is kind of like, in some ways, your debut. You're at the helm for the first concert under your new title and under the baton. Is that correct?
Oh my gosh, you're giving me a lot of pressure. I'm grateful to be back. Springfield was such a memorable visit. I'm just so happy to be able to come back with, Beethoven 5 and also introducing new pieces for the orchestra and for the audience.
The program will include works by two of the so-called Boston Six. Tell us about what these works entail and who you'll be performing.
These are hidden gems in our repertoire. Mr. George Whitefield Chetwood was literally like the director I've lived with, knowing the name. When I attended my alma mater, New England Conservatory, he was the longtime director there. And when I first time heard his symphonic sketches, I'm like, many people might say, oh, it sounds like the Dvorak. For me, that was like American voices bursting out to be discovered. And so I'm like, we got to do this. This is written here in the New England, and we got to be proud of our own. And then Amy Beach, talking about prodigy, performing with the Boston Symphony in her teenage years. And that wasn't enough for her. She wanted to create her own music, performing with the Boston Symphony when she grew up. I mean, how cool was that? So that's the rarely performed piano concerto by Amy Beach, literally the first concerto by an American woman. We're talking about 1900. I mean, that's like, wow, that's really history breaking.
And underappreciated too, because Amy Beach's smaller pieces are what I think people are more familiar with, not her symphonic work.
That's right. And so I'm so grateful for my team for trusting me. We're not doing the small pieces. We're doing the steak, okay? Featuring the incredibly monster pianist, Anne-Marie McDermott, who is willing to take up this work. I mean, it's a long symphony. The first movement is already 17 minutes long. There are 4 movements. Amy Beach performed this with the Boston Symphony, another New England work that was created right in our backyard. And so why not?
We're speaking with Mei-Ann Chen, who is the artistic advisor for the Springfield Symphony Orchestra and who will be conducting the opening evening of the Springfield Symphony's 2024-25 season on Saturday, October 19th. You will also be performing That Guy Beethoven Symphony No. 5, which is great, and people love that. But I think it's interesting, the pianist, Anne-Marie McDermott. Tell us a little bit about Anne-Marie and why you wanted to work with her on these pieces.
Oh, Anne-Marie has been a dear friend. She has carved out a very unusual role, being a soloist, being one of the best-known chamber musicians connected with Lincoln Center. And she is an artistic director of several well-known festivals that frequent by New York Phil, Dallas Symphony, you name it. I didn't think we were able to get her. And so it's really fun when she said yes, and tackling such a gigantic piano concerto that's rarely performed around the country. And so I can't wait.
That's Mei-Ann Chen, who is the artistic advisor of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra. We're also joined in studio right down the street from Symphony Hall by the president and CEO of the Springfield Symphony, Paul Lambert. This is just the first of, I believe, 9 performances that will happen throughout the course of the 2024-25 season. What are some of the other things that you're excited that are upcoming this season?
Well, I'm excited about all of it, as you can imagine. I mean, it's such an important time for the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, as we quite intentionally, as you understand, have programmed these seasons to reach as much of the diversity of our communities that reflects the beautiful place we live, which is why I'm especially proud that we're representing New England in our first concert.
Yeah.
The fall in New England, if you don't like fall in New England, there's probably something wrong with you.
I think so.
It's just about as beautiful as it gets.
Yes.
And so I'm so proud of where we live, and I love this area, and I think about that so often, how lucky we are to live in this beautiful place. So to open our season with that, and Beethoven's Fifth, I mean, we've kind of glossed over that, but my gosh, to get to hear that, the music so well, and everyone knows that piece so well, but to hear it live in person by this wonderful orchestra under Mei-Ann's direction is going to be such thrilling music. What a great way to start. The real key, I guess, that I'd love folks to know about the season upcoming is to get how each concert has been chosen, sometimes with input from members of our community, certainly from a lot of input from our musicians, but also trying to find ways to make sure that all the various communities that make up our community know that the SSO is here for them. The whole industry, as Mei-Ann can well attest and knows, I'm sure even much more than me, is really going through a time of change, coming out of the pandemic with demographic changes, all kinds of different ripples going through our society. So it's really critically important that while we have this tremendous gift in Springfield, Massachusetts, to still have a vibrant symphony orchestra in 2024, it's kind of a miracle. So it's really critically important that we all come together to celebrate it and find ways to support it. The easiest way, of course, we hope being, come on out and listen to some beautiful music.
Looking at the schedule for the 24-25 year, it's full of really much more modern pieces and distinctly American continent, and I mean both North and South American continent music, which I think is an interesting focus to take, especially in this year, in these times.
We're really excited about the season. And I draw reference to one concert that we have coming up in February. First is we have two concerts in February. The first one being a return by Byron Stripling, who was with us 2 years ago. He's a remarkable jazz musician, and it blew the walls out. It was so wonderful at Symphony Hall, his music, and many, many people said, you have to bring him back. We listen.
You got to listen.
And it'll be so exciting to have him here with, Gershwin, Berlin, and friends on February 1st. But 2 weeks after that, Mei-Ann, when she was here last year, she and I had a long conversation, I remember in the car one day, about trying to put together an East-West concert, something that celebrated the beautiful musical traditions of both the Eastern cultures and our Western culture. And with her help, we've created this remarkable concert we're calling Harmony of Love. We're referring to it as our romance concert because it overlaps with the Valentine's Day weekend. It's still within the Lunar New Year period.
Oh, nice.
It's just a very special concert that we hope the folks within our Asian American community will celebrate and come out to really say, this is something very special. And at the same time, it involves some great Western music, West Side Story being among my favorite.
Paul is so thoughtful in terms of trying to engage the multiple communities in Springfield, and what a better way than to tap into the universal theme of love. That's what we're doing with the February concert, and I'm happy to bring to Springfield many of the pieces that probably never heard in Springfield. It's just so lovely for me to be able to tap into my multiple cultural background, and that's what our world is really crossing the cultures, really appreciating what each culture has to offer.
It's almost too perfect that the theme for the 2024-25 season for the Springfield Symphony is a tapestry of music, because it's weaving that all together. Mei-Ann Chen, you are new-ish to the Springfield Symphony Orchestra in your role, and you'll be conducting, which we're very excited about, on the 19th. But you also are a music director in Chicago. You are a chief conductor in Austria. You work in Texas. You work in Washington. What is special about the city of Springfield and the Springfield Symphony Orchestra?
Massachusetts is where I kind of grew up when I came to this country as a teenager. So Massachusetts always holds a very special place in my heart. And having been with the Springfield Symphony Orchestra one time last season, I fell in love. You had me at Paul Lambert. I'm just so lovely, and the musicians so wonderful. I'm tickled to know that I get to come back in the fall in New England. Oh my gosh, no place is more beautiful than New England in the fall. So I can't wait to be there.
Soon, frights galore at Fear on the Farm at McCray's in South Hadley.
But next, more with the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, including a deeper look at the nuances of each half of the season.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
It's a really dynamic time for the SSO and for all of us who believe in having a vibrant downtown Springfield. We want everyone to come out and have a great time. As my son Ben said, it's a classy night out, Dad.
I mean, you've got Tchaikovsky, Mussorgsky, and Dvorak in your season. What's not to like?
Classy. Paul Lambert is the president and CEO of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, whose 2024-25 season will kick off on Saturday, October 19th, with the artistic advisor Mei-Ann Chen as conductor.
Immediately after that Valentine's Day concert is a concert that features another frequent guest on our show, one of our favorites, one of the best dressed men in Western Mass.
Absolutely.
Kalen Marcel Manson.
I knew you weren't talking about me at that moment.
You have a wonderful Springfield Symphony Orchestra vest on.
I do, but Kalen is a stylish guy.
Is another level entirely.
So good that he won't even tell me where he gets his stuff because he does not want anyone else to come close to how good of a dresser he is.
Yeah, how lucky are we to have him join us?
Yeah.
You know, he conducted last year for us our youth education concert that we have brought back to life. We had over 2,000 fourth graders attend a concert there. And he's not only such a stylish gent, which he is, but so smart and so warm and so engaging with these young people. And he and I talked, and he said it's really important that we have my face and people like me conducting with the SSO as well. And we work together very closely, intentionally. He will also be conducting another concert with our youth education program this March. So we have double win with Kalen this year.
That's so exciting. If you could get him to sing, you'd have a triple win.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. But it's so important to get the youth involved. I remember how important it was for me as a public school student to be able to go to Symphony Hall in Boston and to feel the building resonate with the music in a way that it just can't through speakers or through headphones. Absolutely. It's really something miraculous and special and life-changing, I believe.
I can't tell you how many people, since I landed in the chair at the SSO, have told me the first time they ever heard a symphony orchestra was when their class was brought to hear the SSO play when they were in third grade, fourth grade, whatever. So we want to make sure that's planting the seeds for not just future audiences, but future musicians, and to know that they're welcome. Our second concert you mentioned, the Echoes of the America, that aimed very much at the Latino audience that we have. Last year we did a beautiful Pops concert featuring the Mambo Kings, Havana Nights.
Right.
And we had a huge audience, including hundreds of people who had not only never been to an SSO concert before, but had never been in Symphony Hall before. So we want to make sure that folks know this is, again, very intentional. Please come. And Guillermo Figueroa, who's coming in to conduct, Puerto Rican conductor, world-class conductor, again, coming in. It's going to be a very exciting time, and we want everyone to embrace this symphony and know that they have a home with us somewhere.
Yeah, classically themed in that is the genre, but like the composers and the pieces that are just on the list of the schedule are so modern. You get a chance not just to like hear this beautiful music, but you get to hear what's happening in the moment in that style of music right here in your backyard, in some cases with folks who didn't grow up that far from here.
That's right. And you know, Mei-Ann and I have talked a lot already. With our education group, we're talking about this a lot, about the healing power of music. And it's a very dynamic and challenging time when people come together in Symphony Hall for the beautiful experience of coming to an SSO concert. The last thing I always say in the pre-concert is for a couple of hours, turn off your cell phone. For a couple of hours, let it go, and just sit back and listen to some of this beautiful music, which I believe more and more is critically important to our mental health and to the health of all of us in so many ways. We need to find ways to bring ourselves together as a community, find ways to celebrate the humanity of all of us in a positive way. I'm hoping that our music in some small way helps in that process.
Paul Lambert is the president and CEO of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, whose 2024-25 season will kick off on Saturday, October 19th, with the artistic advisor Mei-Ann Chen as conductor and in conversation.
Now I'll be talking more about what Beethoven 5 means to me, in terms of my life journey. People think of it as a symphony of faith, and literally it has decided my faith in so many junctures. So if you want to find out...
I want to ask you now, but now I think we should probably direct people to come to the symphony to find out. What a teaser, though. I'm curious.
So you've got two programs that you're preparing. Does the program that you're going to be performing next week feel a little bit easier to prepare than the one that's coming up in February with the love theme, or vice versa?
You are so good with this question, because none of my programs is ever easy. I have now sort of lived on the edge. I grew up with a sister. We're like twins except in taste in music, and she only comes to classical music because I'm in it. And oftentimes she represents like the majority of our audience in terms of what's to look for in a concert. Yes, we do century old music, but we also have music that's relevant for today. And so for concert for me are like standing at the edge of a cliff. We hold hands hands together, and including Paul Lambert, who is, helping to support on the other side all these artistic endeavors. And we fly. We learn to fly. Nobody dies. Okay? We learn to fly. And I just want to say it takes a village to raise an orchestra. And thank you for helping to raise the Springfield Symphony Orchestra.
Ready for some spooky and creamy delights?
And maybe a hayride and some giant pumpkins.
All are ready for your frightful pleasure at McCray's Farm in South Hadley, which is where we are headed next.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
NEPM's podcasts are funded by Armbrook Village Senior Living in Westfield, with support services designed to help seniors age in place, including a Compass Memory Support Neighborhood. More at armbrookvillage.com.
It's a cloudy and spooky afternoon in South Hadley, and we are on a farm where there's a carousel and a beehive with bears surrounding it. And somehow Tom Waits is hiding somewhere behind a pumpkin, I think.
What's he building in there?
We are at McCray's Farm. Time for another Local Hero Spotlight with Jacob Nelson from CISA, the Local Hero, folks. And what's your name?
Barbara Cody.
What do you do here at McCray's Farm?
I'm the manager for the Creamery.
We can already tell just by being here for like 5 minutes that you're the one who gets everything done around here, Barbara. And what's your name?
Mandy Carroll.
And what do you do on the farm?
Everything.
You do everything Barbara doesn't. Yeah. You two are in charge.
Kind of like, yep, I message her and can you do this? And it's a yes.
There is a McCray that's currently driving a haunted wagon filled with children around the farm, right?
It's actually a pumpkin ride.
Okay.
It's not spooky. Spooky's only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, good. Tell us about the history of this farm. How did it become what it is known for now, which is this, it's almost like as much amusement park as it is farm, right?
The amusements came to us last year. This is our second year with Manual Amusements.
The haunted thing has been here for a long time.
This year is their 34th year.
Yeah, that's a long time of having a haunted farm.
But before that, it was just cows, right? It started out as a dairy farm primarily?
It was a dairy farm, yep. And then it free petting zoo we have, and that started back in the 70s, is the free petting zoo.
What is the Creamery? What do you make at the Creamery with your milk here at McCray's Farm?
So we have our milk that we produce here, and then we also make our ice cream from the milk from our cows.
Mm-hmm. How many cows you got here?
125.
What kind of cows do you have here?
Holsteins.
So that chocolate milk that Khalees and I were just drinking, that's from the Holsteins?
That's from the Holstein.
Do you have skim steens and 2% steens?
We actually don't. We used to have skim milk, but it didn't sell. So we do 1%, 2%, and whole.
Because skim milk is garbage.
Our chocolate milk is actually whole milk.
Yeah, love it. It's delicious.
It's the way it should be.
And on the back, it has like all of the nutritional benefits of it.
Yeah, that was her.
We could read it off the back, but Khalees put it in her car already. But it was always like, it's got more vitamins than broccoli, and it's got like more protein than eggs and stuff.
Yeah, and it gives you all the measurements and stuff like that.
We were on another dairy farm, and they were saying that the, I think it was the UMass Amherst, or maybe the Amherst College.
No, the UMass Amherst hockey team uses it as their sports drink post-workout.
Sergio works here too.
We're in Sergio's way. He's trying to get a wheelbarrow filled with pumpkins over here. How long have you worked at the farm, Sergio?
24 years.
24 years? That's a long time.
And he does milking too.
Now you're milking pumpkins.
Yep. And you got mini golf, right?
We have a golf special. We have golf special. You want to know what's in the golf
Yes.
special? I imagine you do.
I do. I'm all for it.
Okay. It includes a hot dog or grilled cheese, a round of golf, small ice cream, and either a can of soda, can of lemonade, or bottled water or chocolate milk. And it's an 18-hole course.
That is special.
And there's a long-termer. Mitchell's been with the farm longer than me.
Mitchell's trying to get away from us. He went in through the back door.
He's been here since he was 13 or 14.
Whoa. And he has white hair now, so
75, I think, yeah.
Wow!
He works about every day here.
So he must have seen the transition from sheer farming into what it's become.
Yeah, I've got a picture. Do you want to see the picture that I have?
Yes.
Let's go. All right, we're going in through the back door of the farm store here at McCray's Farm in South Hadley. What's something that you enjoy most about doing here on the farm?
We just started a holiday light stroll. This will be our 3rd year this year.
Yeah.
That has been the most gratifying thing in the last 13 years.
Yeah.
How does that feel different from when you're doing the Fright Nights on the farm?
So I personally don't have any business in building or doing any of that. I literally drive the tractor and take care of the tractors for them. So with the holiday light stroll, all my heart, blood, sweat, and tears goes into that. crunch time, 3 weeks, and you guys are seeing a show.
So what is this a picture of, Barbara?
That's a picture of the pond that was drained back in the, I think, 70s. I know it's been drained twice.
Why do they drain the pond?
To see...
Is there dead bodies down there?
There was no dead bodies down there.
I swear to God, I heard someone moaning low.
All the spookiness here at McCray's Farm in South Hadley is created to enjoy.
This is my new favorite joke. How many dead bodies does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
Well, it's not 5, because my basement's still dark.
Dan Augusta is actually on his way here.
Dan is the guy, the creator of the frights.
That's the guy you want to talk scary to.
Yeah. Barbara, what's most gratifying for you about working here on the farm?
See the people, make them happy.
Yeah.
That's the best. You do have some grumpy ones here and there, but it's fine.
Don't be grumpy with Barbara, people.
I've started seeing McCray's milk more in retail spaces, especially in Hampden County. When did that start happening?
We distribute our milk to All Star Dairy, and they kind of contract people to sell the milk.
All Star delivers it, and I know certain places that they deliver it to, like Arnold's Meat Market. They in turn send it out to restaurants, so that's where our milk is going even further. The first few places that had our milk were Arnold's Meat Market, Atkins, and we have never changed our price since we started producing milk.
And you were saying, Jacob, because of the way that the milk industry works and the price setting that happens on the federal level, that this is a way for smaller dairy farms to be able to continue to sell their milk.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're going to sell your milk wholesale, in other words, if you don't have the licensing and the equipment to bottle your own milk on the farm, then you have to sell it to someone that does. And if you're going to sell it that way, the federal government sets the price of milk, and it's very, very low right now. It's so low that a lot of dairy farms are having a hard time making a living just on that.
For decades.
It's been low for probably as long as I've been alive. And so McCray's Farm is one of a handful in the valley that have taken on the expense of becoming certified and having the equipment to bottle their own milk. That is one way, in addition to agro-tourism, in addition to fun things like Fear on the Farm and the pumpkin wagon rides that are going on right now, that you can piece all of those strategies together to make sure that you have a stable financial business and keep milking cows.
But for somebody who has a partner who drinks just an alarming amount of milk in a week, who has to listen to me go on and on about like, no, don't buy the mass-produced stuff, buy the local stuff, we can find it. It's been nice to be able to find your milk in more places because it means that like we don't have to travel as far to do exactly that.
And that's right on our website. It tells you everywhere where we sell our milk and the schools we partner with as well.
Oh, cool. So it's getting to the schools too.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was just going to suggest that listeners, if you want to help us with the scavenger hunt to see where else you can buy McCray's Farm milk, and just tag CISA on social media, we could like build a map.
90% of people that can't drink milk can drink ours because of the way ours is processed.
What is that way? Do you know what it is?
So most big box companies, they do it high temperature, low time. We do low temperature, long time. When you cook
You're like barbecuing the milk.
Yeah, so when you cook it at a high temperature for a short time, it kills a lot of those nutrients that are in the milk. So if you cook it at the lowest possible temperature for a longer time, it reserves those nutrients. And it's thick and creamier.
I mean, we had the chocolate milk earlier. It was delicious.
Some chocolate milk to try.
It's awesome. I've had a lot of it. It will probably not last the rest of the day.
Well, should we go back outside and wait for the game maker?
Yep. Yes, let's get out of these people's workspace.
Yeah. We're back outside now at McCray's Farm.
Are the pumpkins grown here?
Yes, they are. We have about 100 acres of them.
We have a little field, a medium field, and a really big field.
Does the little field grow the little pumpkins and the medium field grow the medium-sized pumpkins?
No, we plant all sizes everywhere, and then we have a small patch for dollar pumpkins for all like the birthday parties and stuff.
Nice.
So you can go out in the field and pick too?
Yeah, you can.
You can go out there and find the pumpkin of your dreams?
Absolutely.
Barbara and Mandy, you've given us kind of a menu of what you can always do here at McCray's Farm any time of year, but besides these wagon rides and the pumpkin picking and Fear on the Farm, is that the extra additional fun things you can do now here in October? Did I miss one?
Nope, that's it.
That's it.
And the free petting zoo is open year-round. We actually have a duck out in the free petting zoo that comes to us from either South America, Louisiana, or Texas. Because
It's a well-traveled duck.
It's a very rare duck. It is a black-bellied whistling duck, and it actually does whistle.
Wow, and it will let you pet it?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a part of the petting zoo.
It's the petting zoo.
Hangs out at the petting zoo.
It hangs out at the petting zoo. This also hangs out at the petting zoo.
Oh.
Is it a heron?
Yeah.
Great blue. That would be awesome if it let you pet it too, but no.
No, it actually lets you he'll stand in the water, or he'll stand on the side of or it could be a she, because you can't really tell the difference.
Right. It could be a hymen instead of a
Could
heron.
be a hymen, yep. So yours a radio station?
Yeah, we're a radio station.
What station are you guys?
We're the public radio station, can't you tell?
About how many people end up coming to Fear on the Farm over the course of the season?
And where are you? He would have the answer.
Pumpkin picking definitely draws in a lot more people. The haunted hayride draws in like kind of a certain crowd almost. So it is a smaller crowd. We have had nights where we're out until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. People just going on haunted hayrides. Like
kind of amazing to go on a haunted hayride that late at night.
2 o'clock in the morning. We had one night, I think it was 2 years ago, we were all shaking in our seats, scared we were going to be out until 4 o'clock in the morning because the line was just so stupid.
Now it's your turn.
Hi.
Okay.
Welcome. What's your name?
Dan Agusto.
Dan, we hear you're the man behind the Fear on the Farm.
Okay.
When did you create this monstrosity of a haunted farm?
34 years ago. I was 23 years old.
Tell us what was the inspiration to try to bring this, what now has become agro-tourism, to McCray's?
Growing up very poor and loving Halloween because it was the one day of the year when you weren't reminded that you were poor. And I've just always had a love of Halloween. Creating an environment where all of us square pegs that don't fit in society's round holes can join together for 1 month and become rock stars.
I love that. If we go and experience the Fear on the Farm now, are we out for a bunch of jump scares? What should people be looking out for?
Fear and the light for us.
Yeah, it's the light right now, so we don't have to be so scared.
Pretty much we try to put you on what I call an emotional roller coaster. We design a lot of the scenes for people to get their guards down, so then we can hit them from every direction.
How's it hanging? I'm David Pumpkins, and I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
Attack all of your senses.
Yes. So, I mean, I've been to haunted houses a lot since I was a little kid. A lot of times they're pulling from popular culture and famous horror movies. Is that what happens here too?
Unfortunately, we do have to use some of the popular characters. Like we have a little person who does a leprechaun.
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
We have a gentleman who is a huge Halloween fan, and he has pretty much almost original costumes from all of the Michael Myers Halloween movies.
I'm the leprechaun. Garth, I'm the leprechaun. Cool it, okay?
Those are the only 2 mainstream characters. We try to take and create our own icon characters.
So what are some of the characters you've created?
Like the scarecrow that maybe is on your chest?
That's one of them. In the past, we've had the Gravedigger. We've got Spanky the Clown. We have the Scientist. Some of them don't even have names. I'm at a loss right now.
Because I woke him up.
Because you've been having late nights taking people out on the hayrides?
Absolutely, and not getting much sleep because of severe leg cramps.
Sorry about that. Try some arnica.
The crazy thing is today's my birthday, so I was actually planning on sleeping in.
Oh, I'm so happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
So sorry.
No problem.
Thanks for chatting with us about your baby on your birthday.
So how many people do you think came through this weekend?
This weekend we did, I believe it was around 1,600 people.
How many people do you think will come through the entirety of a season of the Fear on the Farm here at McCray's in South Hadley?
It's all dependent on weather, but on any given season it's between 10 and 15,000 people.
That's crazy. What do you do when it's not the haunted season here?
I retired a year and a half ago. I was the supervisor for the solid waste and recycling for the city of Holyoke.
Oh, I think we know some of the same people then. We did a tour of the Smurf, the Springfield Municipal Recycling Facility. What is, either this year or in all the years that you've been doing this, the scariest thing that you've created, do you think?
I would say it's the blackout area of the haunted house for the walkthrough. People hate being in the dark, left to their own imagination. The most popular that people say is the scariest is the big top, which has all of the clowns in it and the different lights and lasers and sound, and it gets pretty intense in there. Jacob,
Not into clowns? I think the clowns were the straw that kind of broke my scary back. I'm not really someone that goes for jump scares or horror movies, and so maybe that is the best endorsement I can give to McCray's Fear on the Farm, is that I think it might be a little too much for me.
Very nice.
I've never been.
Barbara, in all the years that you've been here, you've never done it?
No, not me. My grandkids love it. Nope, not me.
What about you? Have you ever done it?
I've done it 700 million times.
Yeah. Is it scary for you?
No. I drive the tractor for this guy, so,
Yeah, so you know what's coming.
I've been around the circle I don't know how many times.
What's your favorite part about this year's version?
There's so many new things out there, and I really feel like everything they did this year really brought it all together.
We're building for next year, which is our 35th anniversary. We took on way too much this year to get done. We've got a whole new Monster Midway with photo ops, concessions, roaming actors, and a whole new queue line to kind of reduce a lot of the congestion that was up top so that other attractions can take place at the same time, because there's so many areas of the farm that are available. Steve has a couple of huge bonfire areas that for years weren't really used because the hayride kind of went in that area. So he sacrificed those. Now he can still have those two areas running simultaneously, the carnival in town and Fear on the Farm going at the same time with the afternoon pumpkin rides. And they're not interfering with each other, which is truly what agritainment is. That's kind of been the ultimate goal from day one. It's just taken a long time and a lot of growing pains and just blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point.
It is really neat over there, and you can pick pumpkins, and they're huge.
And their milk was really good.
Their milk really is good. I've been having it in the coffee ever since I got the half gallon from them.
Yeah, and I kind of want to go on a hayride at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I don't know if I'm exactly down for that part. I like
each their own.
I like my scaries to be on a page.
Okay. Yeah.
Or in my ears.
Right. I haven't been to a haunted house in a long time, so maybe this is the way to
same.
go.
Like definitely since college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if. I think I'll have to go back during the day again.
Well, we're hoping to visit more haunted houses before the spooky season is over.
Yes.
And maybe talk to some people that are like ghost hunters in the area and all sorts of other spooky stuff. So,
and roll up a hill.
Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Tomorrow on the Fabulous 413, we'll head to Indian Orchard to feast.
Because this weekend sees the neighborhood hosting its 8th food truck festival. Saida Gavan and Ayanna Crawford take us on a tour of some of the offerings you can dine upon this weekend, including a ginormous shake that I got that had a whole slice of cake in it.
Yeah. And we'll feast on music as well. The Whole Children Friendship Band are teaming up with indie darlings Yo La Tengo for a benefit concert later this month, and we're going to go check out their practice as they get ready for Yo La Tengo, who you're listening to now.
With a seasonally appropriate song. And word nerd Emily Brewster, as always, expanding our vocabulary. I'm Khalees Smith.
I'm Monty Belmonte.
See you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.